Welcome to Mind Set in Stone podcasts, where we dive deep into the most compelling books on the shelf. Join hosts Dave and Poppy as they uncover the stories, themes, and ideas that shape our understanding and inspire curiosity. Get ready to explore the big ideas that leave a lasting impact. Let's get started.
Imagine looking at a massive, sprawling oak tree. The branches are thick, the leaves are vibrant, and the roots are just, tearing up the sidewalk.
Okay, I can picture that.
Right. Now imagine someone taps you on the shoulder and tells you that the tiny, hard little acorn this massive tree grew from never actually died. You'd probably look at them like they were crazy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the acorn is gone. It's obviously gone.
Exactly. But today, we are going to challenge that exact assumption. And in doing so, we're going to challenge almost everything you think you know about life, death, and your own identity.
It is a massive topic.
It really is. Welcome to the Mindset in Stone podcast. Today, we are taking a deep dive into a stack of writings and profound insights from Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh.
Specifically focusing on his extraordinary book, The Art of Living.
Right. And the goal here isn't just, an intellectual exercise. We are trying to discover what it actually means, mechanically and practically, to master the art of living happily in the present moment, rather than just surviving a frantic day-to-day routine.
It is a profound mission. And to really set the philosophical tone for what we are about to unpack, we need to step way back. I want you to imagine the perspective of the Apollo astronauts. Think about those first humans who traveled to the moon. They are standing on this desolate, silent, gray, lunar surface. And when they look back over the horizon, they don't just see a rock floating in a dark void.
Right, they see Earth.
Exactly, they see Earth. And from that vantage point, it isn't a map with borders. It is a breathtaking, fragile, intensely vibrant living organism.
Just a glowing blue marble wrapped in a paper-thin atmosphere.
Yes, surrounded by an incredibly hostile, freezing cosmos. And the psychological shift that occurs in that exact moment is documented and profound. It is often called the overview effect.
I've heard of that. It's like they go up as one person and come back totally changed.
That's exactly it. Astronauts go up into space as technicians. They are highly trained engineers focused on dials, thrusters, and, mission parameters. But they return to Earth as humanitarians.
Right, because suddenly all the things that seem so overwhelmingly important down here, the geopolitical borders, the traffic jams, the corporate ladders, they just completely vanish.
They see the absolute entirety of humanity happening on this one tiny, irreplaceable sphere. All our joy, all our brutal wars, our incredible art, our suffering, it is all contained right there.
That is heavy, but it's so true.
And spirituality, much like science, is essentially the pursuit of understanding that exact existence. It's not about escaping to some mystical realm. It's about figuring out our actual place in the cosmos and learning how to handle the heavy reality of being alive on this precious planet.
Which brings us to the core problem we face, because we don't have the luxury of that lunar vantage point on a Tuesday morning when the alarm goes off.
No, we definitely don't.
We all want to live fully to experience the beauty those astronauts saw, but our daily lives are weighed down by what Thich Nhat Hanh calls wrong views.
And this isn't just a philosophical disagreement. It is incredibly heavy psychological baggage that we drag around every single day.
Yeah, we operate under this powerful illusion that we are entirely separate from one another. Like, I am in here behind my eyes and the rest of the universe is out there.
Right. And we are burdened by a deep, usually unacknowledged, humming fear of death and impermanence.
Exactly. And perhaps the most tragic wrong view is this stubborn, conditioned belief that happiness is a destination. We treat the present moment like it's a doctor's waiting room.
Oh, that is such a good way to put it.
We constantly think, I will be happy once I get the promotion, once I find the right partner, once the kids graduate, once I hit retirement.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we miss the only actual life we have, which is happening right now. To dismantle these wrong views before we can even begin to learn how to live, we have to fundamentally rethink who is doing the living. And that brings us to the very first concept, or what the text calls the first door of liberation, which is emptiness.
Okay, I have to jump in right here, because the word emptiness has terrible PR in the West.
It really does. If you tell someone they need to embrace emptiness, they immediately panic. We associate it with a void, with clinical depression, the total lack of meaning, nihilism. It sounds like giving up.
It does sound like that. But in this specific context, it means the exact opposite of a void. It doesn't mean nothingness. It means we are empty of a separate self.
Okay, break that down for me.
Let's think about a flower. If you really look deeply into a flower, you realize it is entirely made of non-flower elements. You can see the sunshine in it.
Right, because if there is no sunshine, there is no flower.
Exactly. You can see the rain, you can see the soil, the minerals, the carbon dioxide. Remove the sunshine, the water, and the earth from that flower, there would be nothing left.
Wow. So the flower is empty of a separate, isolated existence.
Yes, and you are exactly the same. You are deeply, miraculously interconnected with everything around you. Thich Nhat Hanh coined a brilliant term for this profound reality. He calls it interbeing. You cannot simply be by yourself alone. You have to interbe with everything else.
I love the flower analogy. It is very easy to go for a hike in the woods, look at a beautiful redwood tree, and say, ah, yes, I'm deeply connected to nature. I interbe with the forest. That feels warm and fuzzy.
It does. It's safe.
But the text brings up a moment where the author sees a book titled My Mother, Myself. And he notes that it is completely true. Our parents are quite literally inside us.
Right. Biologically and psychologically.
And taking it even further, and this is the part I really struggle with, the text discusses a radical inclusion that challenges our basic moral boundaries.
The pirate example.
Yes. The author writes, I am the young girl and I am the pirate. I am the impoverished child and the arms merchant.
That is the ultimate friction point for most people.
It is, because my immediate reaction to that is a visceral rejection. I don't want to be connected to the arms merchant or the pirate. It feels like a moral abdication.
I completely understand that reaction.
I mean, if I say I am the pirate, doesn't that somehow excuse the pirate's horrific actions? How do we process being intimately connected to the darkest, most painful parts of humanity?
It is a brilliant pushback. And it is the true test of whether you actually understand interbeing or if you are just using it as a comforting bumper sticker.
Right.
Saying, I am the pirate, doesn't excuse the violence. It explains the causality. It is taking absolute radical responsibility for the conditions of the world.
So it's about seeing the bigger picture of how that person was formed.
Yes. Thich Nhat Hanh is saying that if he had been born in the exact same impoverished fishing village as that pirate, under the exact same brutal economic conditions, with the same lack of education and the same trauma, he would very likely be that pirate.
Oh, wow. That is a hard pill to swallow.
It is. We are made of the same human elements shaped by historical, social, and economic conditions. If you view the pirate or the arms merchant or even just the toxic person in your own life as an entirely separate alien monster with absolutely no connection to you,
you lose the ability to actually transform the situation.
Exactly. You just create more separation and more war.
So it is really about recognizing the shared underlying machinery of being human. If I have the capacity for deep love, I also have the latent capacity for deep harm, depending on the conditions.
Precisely. And this isn't just about global atrocities. It applies intimately to our own families. We have to accept that our parents, our ancestors, and all their unresolved traumas live within us.
That makes a lot of sense.
If you fight them, if you view your difficult mother or your absent father as purely toxic individuals who are separate from you, you are, on a biological and psychological level, fighting yourself.
Let's ground this in reality, because that leads to a massive mindset shift. Think about the concept of radical forgiveness.
Okay, let's walk through that.
The next time you find yourself boiling over with anger toward your mother or your father, or feeling deeply resentful of your family history, I want you to try this experiment. Stop and realize that they are literally inside you.
Yes, your cells, your nervous system.
Exactly. Your deeply ingrained flinch reactions, your tone of voice when you get stressed, they are a direct continuation of them.
And importantly, use this insight not to justify their harmful behavior. You can still set boundaries, but use it to foster compassion rather than isolation.
Right, because when you realize that completely rejecting them is, in a way, rejecting a piece of yourself, you can start to observe that generational anger with a sense of shared humanity.
You start to see that they were acting out of their own unhealed conditioning, which they inherited from their parents. It softens those rigid walls of resentment.
You realize you aren't just healing yourself, you are healing your entire lineage.
That is a beautiful way to phrase it. It moves it from a personal attack to a systemic issue.
But what about our impact moving forward? If we are made of all these past conditions, how do we influence the future?
Well, the text has this unbelievable story about a prison inmate that completely rewires how we should think about our physical footprint in the world.
Oh, the concept of the community body. Yes, tell that story.
It is a stunning story. There was a prison inmate serving a long sentence, locked in a tiny cell, completely physically isolated from society. By all conventional metrics, his life was cut off. He was a separate, discarded entity.
Just totally isolated.
Right. But he got his hands on some of Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings. He read them, and something profound shifted inside him. He was so moved that he shaved his own head right there in his cell.
Wow.
He took monastic vows internally, and he began practicing mindful walking back and forth in that confined space.
And the incredible insight here is the realization that your body is what physicists might call non-local.
Exactly. When Thich Nhat Hanh wrote those words years prior, perhaps sitting in a quiet hermitage in France, he was putting a specific energy into the world. Insight, peace, compassion.
And when that inmate absorbed those words and transformed his own suffering, he literally became a continuation of the author. He became part of Thich Nhat Hanh's community body.
Yes. I want you, the listener, to really let that sink in. The idea that someone reading your words, or remembering a kindness you showed them 10 years ago, or a child mimicking your patience, that is literally your body extending out into the world.
Even if you are sitting alone in your room right now, feeling completely isolated, the good you have put into the world is living and breathing and walking around in other people's nervous systems right now.
It completely dismantles the illusion of separation.
It really does.
But it also forces us to confront the next major roadblock. If we can conceptually accept that we are interconnected, we still run face first into the biggest barrier to human peace.
Like yes.
Our terror of time and our fear of death. Connection is beautiful, but what happens when those connections physically expire?
Right. It's the ultimate buzzkill. We can interbe all we want, but eventually the clock runs out.
Right.
Which brings us to the second door of liberation explored in the text, which is sinlessness.
Sinlessness is a fascinating psychological concept. As human beings, our brains are essentially prediction machines. We rely heavily on signs, appearances, and categories to make sense of a chaotic universe.
We like things neat and tidy.
Exactly. We constantly try to force the fluid reality of life into 4 very rigid conceptual boxes. We look at something and ask, is it alive? Is it dead? Is it in the realm of being? Or has it passed into non-being?
We desperately want clear, definitive lines, because biologically, those heuristic boxes keep us safe.
How so?
Well, if I can quickly categorize a tiger as alive and a rock as dead, I know what to run away from. It's a survival mechanism.
All right, that makes total sense.
But the text is arguing that while it's good for avoiding tigers, it's a terrible framework for understanding reality, right?
Exactly. The universe simply does not operate in those rigid boxes. Those boxes are human inventions. And because we believe in them so deeply, they trap us in a perpetual state of anxiety.
Because we are absolutely terrified of moving from the alive box into the dead box.
Or from being into non-being.
This brings me back to the hook we started with, the acorn and the oak tree. The text uses this analogy, and it just shatters that categorical thinking.
Walk us through it.
You hold an acorn in your hand. It's small, it's hard, it fits in your pocket. You plant it in the soil. 10, 20, 50 years later, you are standing under a massive oak tree with a sprawling canopy.
Right.
If you look around, the acorn is gone. It has completely disappeared. So our conditioned brain looks for the sign of the acorn, can't find it, and concludes the acorn died. It entered the realm of non-being.
But clearly that is absurd, because the oak tree is right there. The acorn didn't die, it expanded.
Exactly. And the author takes this logic and applies it directly to human mortality with a beautiful, striking metaphor. He writes, I sometimes liken my body to the water being boiled in a kettle that eventually turns to steam.
It's so poetic, and because of this deep understanding, Thich Nhat Hanh states boldly, I will never die.
Now, to be clear, he isn't claiming biological immortality for his physical frame. He isn't saying his heart won't stop beating.
No, not at all. He is explaining that when the physical body dissolves, it is a continuation, not an end. It is a transformation of form, just like water reaches a certain temperature and turns to steam.
The steam rises, condenses, and becomes a cloud.
Right. And the cloud gets heavy and becomes rain. We know from basic biology that roughly 70% of our physical human body is water.
Or, as the author beautifully phrases it when recounting a snowy meditation walk he took, we are 70% snow.
Yes. We are constantly, continuously shifting forms. The cloud never actually dies. It just becomes the rain. It changes its sign.
So when we stop frantically clinging to the sign, or the specific appearance of our current physical body, the paralyzing fear of death starts to lose its grip.
That is the goal of sinlessness.
Okay, But I want to push back here, because conceptually, the water to steam analogy is beautiful. If someone I love dies, I don't want the steam. I don't want the rain. I want them. I want their specific sign, their voice, their laugh, their physical presence. How does knowing they're just changing forms actually help with the brutal reality of grief?
That is the most profoundly human response possible. And the teaching of signlessness doesn't ask you to pretend you don't miss the form.
Okay, that's a relief.
Of course you miss the cloud when it becomes rain. Grief is natural, but sinlessness prevents grief from turning into absolute despair.
What's the difference between the two?
Despair says they are completely gone into nothingness and I will never experience them again. Signlessness says they are no longer in the form I recognized, but their energy, their impact, their continuation is still here.
Oh, I see.
You learn to look for them in their new forms, in the way you now speak a little more kindly because of what they taught you, in the physical traits of their children, in the projects they started. You grieve the loss of the sign, but you find deep comfort in the reality of the continuation.
Wow. And we can apply this framework not just to literal death, but to the deaths we experience in our daily lives, like the fading of a relationship.
Absolutely.
Think about how we can cultivate a garden of love. Because everything is impermanent and constantly shifting forms, happiness and love are not static objects. You can't just put love on shelf like a trophy and expect it to stay perfectly preserved.
Right. If you hit a difficult patch in a marriage, or if you feel like the spark is completely gone, our conditioned brain says the love is dead. It has passed into non-being.
We look for the sign of the honeymoon phase, and when we can't find it, we panic and declare the relationship over.
Exactly. But if you apply singlessness, you realize the dormant love hasn't died. It hasn't vanished into the void. It is just currently existing in the form of a seed waiting beneath the winter soil.
You can actively revive your love story today. You do this by changing the conditions, by using loving speech, by practicing deep listening, by offering real presence.
When you realize the feelings are just impermanent seeds, you feel empowered. You become a gardener who can change the seasons of your relationship, rather than a passive victim mourning a dead plant.
What's truly fascinating is how the text intimately links our fear of death with our frantic, exhausting pace of life.
Yes, the connection there is undeniable.
If we begin to truly understand that we are infinite, that we are deeply interconnected, and that we never truly die but only change forms, well, it forces us to ask a very uncomfortable question.
Why are we running so fast?
Exactly. Why are we rushing through our days so frantically? Why the chronic baseline stress that seems to vibrate under everything we do?
And this brings us perfectly into the third door of liberation, which is aimlessness.
All right, I have to admit, when I first encountered the concept of aimlessness, my modern, highly caffeinated, goal-oriented brain pushed back so hard.
I think everyone's does.
I almost stopped reading. I thought, wait a minute, aimlessness sounds exactly like laziness.
Yeah.
It sounds like giving up.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. If we are completely aimless, how do we pay the mortgage? How do we put food on the table for our kids?
Valid questions.
Furthermore, looking at the state of the world, who is going to rescue those who are suffering if we're all just wandering around aimlessly? From the exact moment we enter kindergarten, we are constantly told to strive, to hustle, to set goals, to be number one.
Right.
How on earth does aimlessness fit into the reality of the modern world?
It is the most natural reaction you could have, especially in a Western capitalist framework where doing is valued infinitely more than being. We are defined by our output. You end up sacrificing your physical health through burnout. You sacrifice your deep connection with your family because you're always, checking emails at the dinner table. And ultimately, you sacrifice your true self.
But aimlessness doesn't mean just quitting your job, right?
No, not at all. Aimlessness, in the Buddhist context, does not mean you don't have dreams or that you abandon your responsibilities or that you don't fight for justice.
So what does it mean?
It means realizing a profound, radical truth. You are already enough. You don't need to acquire a specific title, a corner office, or a certain number in your bank account to be worthy of existing.
That is deeply countercultural.
It is. The Thich Nhat Hanh uses this wonderful, slightly subversive phrase. He tells his monks to become a businessless person. We focus our entire lives on doing things to prove our worth, to justify taking up space. But our primary fundamental job on this planet is simply being. There's a brilliant inversion of a common cultural phrase in the text. Usually when there is a crisis or even just a moment of downtime, society yells, "Don't just sit there, do something."
Right, fix it.
But the practice of aimlessness asks us to flip that completely. It says, don't just do something, sit there.
Don't just do something, sit there. I love the friction of that statement. It goes against every instinct I have.
It takes practice.
And that brings us to an incredible experiment. You can try to actually put this into practice. It is about treating the mundane as sacred.
I love this one.
The challenge for you is to take something entirely ordinary, something you do every single day on autopilot, like brushing your teeth. Usually brushing your teeth is just an annoying means to an end.
You're doing it so your teeth don't rot.
Exactly. And while you're physically scrubbing, your mind is miles away. You're mentally rehearsing an argument you expect to have at work, or you're stressing about a bill.
You are everywhere except in the bathroom.
Yes. I joke that there is nothing less enlightened than staring into a foggy bathroom mirror with toothpaste dripping down your chin, stressing about an email.
It's a sad image, but we all do it.
But aimlessness challenges you to change that. For those 2 minutes, stop striving. Spend those 2 minutes feeling pure, unadulterated joy that you are actually alive, that you are breathing, that you have running water, that you actually have teeth to brush. Don't brush them just to get the task done so you can move on to the next task. Turn a daily, mundane chore into 2 minutes of absolute, unhurried freedom.
You have nowhere else to be for those 2 minutes except right there holding the toothbrush.
It sounds so simple, but it is remarkably difficult because of our conditioning.
It really is. And to build on that, we have to look at what the text calls our habit energy.
Tell me about that.
We are constantly running, even when we are sitting perfectly still on the couch. We have this kinetic momentum pushing us away from the present moment. So here is a reflective audit you can do.
Okay, I'm listening.
The next time you find yourself mindlessly reaching for the TV remote, or opening a new tab to scroll endlessly on your phone, or standing in front of the open fridge looking for a snack when you know you aren't physically hungry, I challenge you to literally pause, stop your hand midair, catch the habit energy. And in that suspended moment, ask yourself, what am I running away from right now? What feeling is rising up in my chest that I am trying to immediately cover up with a distraction? What am I really hungry for? Very often we consume media, food, and drama not for nourishment, but to drown out a subtle underlying feeling of loneliness, inadequacy, or anxiety. Aimlessness is having the warrior's courage to just sit with yourself without immediately reaching for an escape route.
I think the phrase warrior's courage is exactly right, because it is so easy to fall into those consumption traps.
It takes real bravery.
But let's take a hard look at the reality of this philosophy, because it's wonderful to find peace in brushing your teeth. It's a great life hack to stop scrolling on your phone. But how do we apply these peaceful concepts when life truly hits us with genuine trauma, deep grief, or intense, undeniable suffering?
Right, because life isn't always easy.
No, it's not all just brushing teeth and looking at oak trees. Real life contains sudden diagnoses, layoffs, and heartbreak.
That is the crucial pivot in the text, and it's where this philosophy proves its weight. It leads us to the concepts of letting go and the realization that nirvana is now.
Okay, unpack that for us.
Thich Nhat Hanh teaches that a true practitioner, someone who is really engaging with life, must embody two distinct, seemingly contradictory archetypes simultaneously. They must be both a warrior and an artist.
How do those two work together?
Well, you need the warrior's fierce courage to take out a sword and actively cut through the thick ropes of anger, fear, and societal expectations that entangle you. You have to be brave enough to stop running from your pain, which takes immense strength. But a warrior alone can become rigid or destructive. So you also need the artist's gentle, imaginative creativity. You need the artist to take your deep sorrow, your messy, painful mud, and transform it into something beautiful, like a lotus flower.
You cannot forcefully fight your way out of grief with a sword. You must artfully transform it. And I think there is a massive misconception here that we absolutely need to clear up. In Western pop culture, we often treat the concept of enlightenment or nirvana as if it's a permanent vacation from pain.
Oh, definitely. The toxic positivity trap.
Right. We think that once we reach a certain level of mindfulness or read the right book or meditate enough, we will just float on a permanent cloud of bliss, glowing with positive vibes, and nothing will ever hurt our feelings again.
Which is completely false.
It is. Because the text explicitly notes that even the historical Buddha, after his profound enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, still felt the biting cold of the wind. He still felt physical hunger in his stomach, and he experienced intense physical pain. He didn't turn to stone. He didn't become a robot.
And this is where Thich Nhat Hanh shares a deeply personal, incredibly vulnerable story to illustrate this, proving that this isn't just theory for him.
The story from 1954.
Yes. He takes us back to 1954. This was an intensely pragmatic geopolitical moment. The Geneva Accords had just divided his homeland of Vietnam into North and South. It was a time of immense chaos, violence, and separation.
A truly dark time.
Very. And during this exact period, his mother passed away. And Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a dedicated monk, a leader, someone who practiced mindfulness every day, fell into a deep clinical depression. He was completely incapacitated by grief.
I think it's so important that he included that story, because if a Zen master can fall into a deep depression, it gives the rest of us permission to be human. It shatters the illusion that mindfulness is a shield against experiencing pain.
Exactly. Awakening, you see, does not mean you somehow become immune to the tragedies of the human experience. It means you know how to suffer. You don't drown in the suffering, creating secondary layers of anxiety because you are mad at yourself for being sad. And you don't run from it through numbing distractions.
You just experience it.
Right. Awakening and suffering are intimately linked. They always go together. Nirvana isn't some distant realm you go to after you die to escape the fire of life. Nirvana is found right in the heart of our suffering. It is the active daily practice of transforming the heat of the fire so you can touch the coolness of peace right in the middle of your pain.
Knowing how to suffer, that is such a massive paradigm shift. It completely changes the goal from avoid all pain to learn how to process pain.
And that leads to a daily habit you can start building today, regardless of what you are going through.
Yes, the 10 to 15-minute art of relaxation. The beauty of this is that you don't need to fly to a silent meditation retreat in the mountains to do this.
You can do it anywhere.
Right in the middle of a difficult, stressful day, maybe your inbox is overflowing, maybe you just had a tense conversation with your spouse. Find a quiet place. It could be your bedroom. It could be your parked car. Lie down or sit comfortably. And for just 10 to 15 minutes, bring your entire awareness to your physical body.
And this is the crucial part. When those painful feelings or stress spikes inevitably arise during those 15 minutes, do not suppress them. Do not try to push them away or tell yourself you shouldn't be feeling them. Embrace them. Hold them gently with your attention, the way a mother holds a crying baby. Use your breath to actively untangle your physical and mental stress.
Be the warrior who has the courage to stop and face the stress, and be the artist who breathes through it to find the calm beneath the storm. We live in a society that constantly preaches this deeply ingrained capitalist mantra, time is money. We are conditioned to believe that every unused minute is wasted capital. But time is not money. Time is life. So tomorrow, when you park your car and start walking across the concrete to your office building, or when you are walking from your car to the sliding doors of the grocery store, I want you to actively, consciously rebel against the pressure to rush.
It is a micro-rebellion, but it shifts everything.
Yes. Say to yourself, I refuse to run. I resist. Don't check your phone while you walk. Don't lean forward, rushing to get to the door. Reclaim your ultimate freedom with every single step.
Make that short walk count.
Make that short 30-second walk across the asphalt a profound statement of sovereignty over your own life. You are not a machine built for endless output. You are a human being walking on the earth.
I refuse to run. I resist. That is a magnificent mantra. It perfectly encapsulates the resistance to the wrong views we started with.
It really does tie it all together.
So, how do we pull all of this together as we conclude our journey into this text today?
Let's summarize the immense territory we've covered, because these are big, life-altering concepts.
We started by breaking down the deeply held illusion of the separate self. We explored the reality of interbeing, understanding that we are empty of an isolated identity, but full of the entire cosmos.
We contain our ancestors, the soil, the rain, and even the people we struggle with most.
Exactly. We then tackled the ultimate fear, the fear of death, through the door of sinlessness. We used the metaphor of the water and the cloud to understand that we never truly die. We only change forms.
We learned to grieve the loss of the sign while finding comfort in the continuation.
We then gave ourselves permission to step off the hedonic treadmill. We opened the door of aimlessness, recognizing that our endless, exhausting hustle to be somebody is a trap. We learned that our primary job is simply to be because we are already enough.
And finally, we faced the reality of pain. We learned that we don't have to wait for a hypothetical future to find peace. We can be the warrior and the artist, transforming our suffering right here in the present, because nirvana is now.
And that summary brings us to a specific challenge for you, the listener. In the text, Thich Nhat Hanh talks about the arc of human evolution. He suggests that if we are to survive as a species, we must evolve from Homo sapiens into Homo conscious.
Meaning mindful beings. beings who are awake.
Exactly.
So we want to issue you the Homo Conscious Challenge today. We challenge you to pick just one completely ordinary routine action today. It could be making your morning coffee, walking down the driveway to check the mailbox, or taking one deliberate deep breath before you turn the doorknob to enter a stressful meeting.
Just one action.
Take that one simple action and execute it with total, joyful, unhurried awareness. Don't do it as a stepping stone to get to the next moment. Do it to fully, completely inhabit this one.
And as you take on that challenge today, keep this final, powerful thought at the forefront of your mind. You do not need to wait to go to heaven or nirvana to be happy.
No, you don't.
You don't need another promotion to be worthy. You don't need another dollar to be secure. And you certainly don't need another tomorrow to start living. You have more than enough conditions to be happy right here, right now, standing exactly where you are in this very second.
Every single day you wake up, you are handed 24 brand new hours.
They are an unearned, miraculous gift. Don't waste them running blindly after a future that is not guaranteed. Be the artist, be the warrior, live deeply today.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mind Set in Stone podcast.
We hope you're leaving with fresh insights and a spark of inspiration. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and check back for more episodes as we dive into new worlds of thought, one book at a time. Until then, keep your mind set in stone and your curiosity open. This has been a Big L Riz Media podcast, where big ideas meet lasting impressions.